Good morning, students. We have already discussed about Rdbms and what is Rdbms. Also, you have discussed with Sanjay sir's class. No more to be discussed for Rdbms. What are the features of Rdbms? You have understood. Advantages, the benefits. When you use Rdbms, certain limited advantage you are getting. And when there are too much data available, when there are many number of database tables to be created, we cannot confidently deal with Rdbms. So we can go for a new benefit, new feature, that is Rdbms. That is Relational Database Management System. In Relational Database Management System, you can create different database tables, establish relationships between them, and get the benefit out of that. And you can store also data independently in different database tables. And the advanced features of Rdbms you will get in Rdbms. Rdbms defines the structure and organization of data and set of available operations on data. In which manner the data will be structurized, in which manner the data will be inserted into tables, how those data will be organized perfectly so that different operations on the data we can perform very easily and confidently. When the operations on data are frequently able to be available, then a perfect organizations of data into the tables are very much important. And a relational database management system provides you to arrange the data in the tables in a perfect manner and modify the data properly whenever they are required, and retrieve the data as per the requirement of the users. And more other benefits also we can get from the database systems using the relational concepts. So let us go to the area of Rdbms. In Rdbms, you can have a relational database model, and the model represents the database as a collection of relations where each relationship is represented as a two-dimensional form or tabular format. The data will be stored in a database table, and it will be in the form of tables, and the data will be stored as a collection, and the data will be similar type of data will be stored in the database tables. You can say it as the relations, and here the data or entities and attributes is expressed in the terms of tables in rows and columns format. When your data is to be stored in a relational table, according to the entity you will store. When your data is to be arranged in the table, by identifying the relation attributes of the relation, the data will be stored in the table. So we have to consider here what are the entities and what are the respective attributes of the entities. Got it? When the data will be stored, it will create certain columns, and the rows will be created to store respective records. Got it? In Rdbms, we have already discussed what are the attributes, what are entities, what do you mean by record, what is a relational schema. When you are creating a relational table, You are preparing a relational schema, and according to the schema structure, you are creating different columns and storing the data in the form of rows. Got it? In relational database systems, what we call it as the tables. The table says the relations. The data field is what? It is stored in the columns. It stands for the property or attribute of the relation. What are the attributes of the given relation? We'll identify all those, and those attributes will store in the different columns. Got it? The record are stored in the form of rows, or you can say as the tuples, where information regarding a single person or thing is contained. If we are creating a database table or a relation for a particular person or a thing, regarding that, the each and every single record will be created. If there are information about 50 number of informations to be stored, then 50 number of rows will be created, and the records will contain the information about 50 persons. If you are creating a student table or customer table or product table or employee table like that, then regarding that specific relation, you will create different attributes and store them into the relation into the columns. And regarding the information of the particular relations, that number of records or data you have to store them in the form of rows by creating different tuples, or you can say records. If we are storing the data regarding the students, then a student table will create, and in the student table we'll identify the properties of the students. What may be the properties of the students? Those may be the student name, address, roll number, age, like that. And the students of a particular class, suppose there are 100, then we have to create 100 records of them, and in different rows you can store about those 100 students information. Got it? To make it more clear, we'll go for some examples. And the major activity of relational database approach is to setting of relationships between different tables. The tables are containing the data, and how the tables will be more benefited and useful when you are creating the relationships between the database tables and retrieve the respective data. So by establishing relationships, we can deal with the data more frequently. This can be provided by using certain operations of relational algebra and relational calculus. How the relationships will be established? Basing upon different operations. You can use different relational algebra operations. What may be the relational algebraic operations? Like selection, projection, join, intersection, union, like that. By using the selection operation, you can retrieve respective records from the relational tables and display as per the user's requirement. Using projection, you can retrieve specific columns of information and provide to the user as per their requirement. Using join operations, you can relate different database tables, and basing upon their relationship and combination of the tables, you can retrieve the data and produce to the user. When using intersection, you can retrieve common information from different tables and provide to the user as per their requirement. In union, you can retrieve combination of informations and provide to the user as per their requirement. Got it? So similarly, some more relations you will discuss, and the relations will go through deeply in our query section. These are our only theory informations to know the benefits of Rdbms, the use of Rdbms, for what purpose we'll use Rdbms, and how it will be going to benefit us. Got it? One of the best techniques of relational approach that it makes more benefited for the user and convenient for the user to use it and make it able to produce its highest features is the normalization technique. Using the normalization technique, the relational tables you are creating can be independent in nature. Those can be retrieving only specific amount of information. So when you are retrieving information, the amount of memory, the amount of time required will be also sophisticated. The benefits of normalization we'll discuss in our DBMS classes. Okay, what are the normalization techniques, how the normalization can be created on the tables, what are the different formats of normalization, what are the benefits of those formats. Deeply we'll discuss in DBMS, and how the normalization is established also we'll learn. Got it? So the relational tables with normalization techniques are more benefited for the users to make their work effective. Got it? To know more about the relational approaches, how the data stored in the tables, how the data inserted into the tables, how the data is retrieved or extracted from the tables, in which format the data representation is performed, how the modifications we can perform, how the relational table will look like, we can discuss using certain example. Okay, let us go to the example. You can see here, this is a student table. And in student table, you can view the information are stored by creating a database table. What the database table stores? The database table stores the roll number, name, age, address, phone number of the students. You can think, you can identify what are the field names should be, what should be the properties or the attributes of the student database, and according to that, you can create the table. In the student database table, you can find the roll number, name, attributes in order to store their information. Roll number, name, age, address, phone number, you can store, and the respective data regarding it also you can contain inside it. For example, there are 6 students in the class. So we'll store about the 6 students. If there are 600 students also, we can create the same database table and store the data into it. But while we are discussing with example, we cannot cover 600 students' names. So for example, there are 6 students, and how the data can be stored inside it, here it is displayed. This is the rough format in which the database table is already created and data is stored. When you create different field names like roll number, name, age, address, phone number, then those are the columns are allowed to enter different information of the records. Got it? These are the columns. Roll number, name, age are the columns. And what are these all? After that, these 7 rows you will find containing 7 records. Suppose the roll numbers 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46 are there. The 7 students names you have already entered, and age already we have entered. Their address is there, their phone numbers are there. Those information I have already entered. You can similarly enter the data into the table. And how to enter the data into the table, we'll learn the query lines for it in the subsequent classes. And what this student database is called as? It is the relational tables name. What are these roll number, name, age, address stands for? These are the attributes. Here we have discussed 2 database tables. One is student database, other is the account database. In the student database, the students' common information are present. In the account database, the students' information with their account details are stored. Here, I have only considered 3 attributes. What the account database contains. There may be more number of attributes also in order to store the respective information in the account database. The student's roll number is important, name is important in order to make its account details perfect. The amount to be paid here entered. This table also can have certain attributes like the total fees, the fees paid in first year, fees paid in second year, fees paid in third year also may be mentioned in different fields. And the amount due is mentioned at the last column. I have specified here the amount due, the amount to be paid by the student I have written here. You can add more attributes as per the table's requirement. The table requires the information to be maintained for the first year fees to be paid. Suppose the first year fees to be paid is 30,000 and the student at first installment have paid 20,000 and in the next installment paid 10,000. In the second year he paid 30,000 all at once. So there will be no dues. If it is all about a third year student, so the amount paid in the first year in 2 installments are written there. Amount paid in the second year in 2 installments will be entered there. The amount paid in 2 installments in the third year will be also entered there. And in the last column, the amount due can be available. So according to the requirement of the database table, what sort of information it should contain, accordingly you can define the attributes and you can create that many fields, and the field names accordingly you can create and store data into them. The roll number names are also to be given in the account database in order to identify which student entered into the particular course have been maintained in the account section. Got it? And what are all these? All these 7 informations are called as the records. And these records we have mentioned in the curly brace. The records can be as many according to the information you have to enter into the database table. Got it? So we have discussed here what is a relational table, what is the relational database table name, how the table will look like, What are the rows? What are the columns containing? The column contains different column names, and the column names are named according to the attributes of the relation. And the rows will contain the particular values to be entered into the columns. You can name them as the records. Each record will contain the information regarding roll number, name, age, address, phone number of a particular student. So one record will contain the complete information regarding one student. Other record contains the complete information regarding the second student. Similarly, how many number of students are there, for them, that many number of records will be created. Got it? And when the records are created, it is all about data insertion. The data inserted according to the available information. Suppose there are 600 students or 1000 students or 6000 students, all those information have been entered. Then it will go for other operations that can be available. The relational database systems can provide also similar benefits like your database systems. You can create database tables. You can modify the existing data in the database tables. You can delete whichever records not required. A particular students have left the class, have left the college, so his or her information should not be there in the database table. So the table will be the record will be deleted from that particular table. The table deals with the complete information to be processed thereafter, will not contain that particular record. But the original database table in which the number of students entered, the information will be present. There may be arrival of that student again, and he want to know about his details thereafter, so the information can be retrieved and shown to him. But the table, those are in a common use, will be containing the present students' informations in order to make it updated, modified frequently. If a particular student's address changed, then we have to modify the particular record so that his updated address will be maintained into the table. Got it? If we are identified that the phone number of the student has been changed, so also it can be updated. If a particular student have 45,000 due, became paid in the next month, so his due will be modified to 0 when he have paid 45,000. If a particular student have 20,000 as due and he have paid 10,000 and only 10,000 he had to pay, then for that the 10,000 will be deducted and the updated information, that is 10,000, will be maintained into the database table, so that whenever the student comes at the next moment, he will get the information that he have 10,000 to pay. Got it? So whenever new actions are carried out, the database table getting modified according to information. Got it? And when the database table is dealing with different actions to be carried out, the Rdbms supports different benefits or advantages to carry out the actions. Rdbms is easy to use. It is dealing with database tables and storing the data in the form of tables. And whenever the informations are retrieved by looking at the tables and the records present inside it, and according to that, you can easily access those records. Whenever the information have to be also stored, the information will be stored in the database tables at the end of the database records or at the mid of the database records if it is using the sorting technique. If there are 100 students and 80 students already entered into the database table, the rest of the 20 students may be entered at the entered after 81 to 100 number or at the mid of the records as per the sorting techniques applied. So the easy to access or easy to use feature of the Rdbms provides the database user the benefit to input data or insert data into it very frequently. It also allows the database users to manipulate the data or modify the data whenever they require. The easy to execute actions provide these benefits. The database queries used for that are also very easier and frequent to be understood by the database users so that they can easily update the data inside it, store the data into the database, retrieve as per the requirement, make modifications whenever required. The easy to access features provide those benefits. Got it? Flexibility. Flexibility, when flexibility deals with accommodating the database users to perform any sort of action very frequently. As there are large amount of data stored into the database, there may be the problem of handling it very frequently. The flexibility nature of it allows to update any of the informations, delete the information whenever required, modify the informations whenever required. So the flexibility nature allows to do all these actions very frequently. Precision, whenever your data is stored into the database table, sometimes it requires retrieving the information as per the requirement and displaying the information as per the user's needs. So in order to accommodate all these facilities, the precision benefits are available. And in order to make the database tables precise and make the relational approach precise to be operated, the relational algebra and relational calculus operations are available to make it frequently usable. Using the algebraic and calculus operations, the relational database approach can be more precise in nature and allow those actions to be performed very frequently. Got it? Security. The relational database approach deals with very crucial confident data. Sometimes it is supposed to face unsecured situations when there are misutilizers. There is no authenticated users available. So at those times, your data may be lost. Your data may be insecure. Your data may be modified by unauthorized users. So in order to prohibit all that, the security mechanisms of Rdbms are also very strong. The authentication features are applied here in order to maintain the security of the database tables. And the authentication features you can provide by different query languages. Got it? We'll discuss about all those frequently in our subsequent classes. Data independence. When your data independence nature comes, the original database stores some other data and your actions required into the database are different. So that independence features are present in Rdbms also very frequently. And in order to provide the data independence features very frequently into the relational database systems, you have a good technique, that is your normalization technique. Using the normalization technique, the data independence feature can be achieved very well. Got it? Regarding data independence, already you have discussed in Rdbms. So the benefit of creating the data independence nature can be reached using the normalization techniques. Data manipulation language. The relational database systems provide different data manipulation languages, as it has created the databases frequently and allows the uh, users to store their informations in a very frequent nature. The data manipulation languages allows inserting data as per the requirement, modifying the data whenever they require, and delete if they don't require, and they can operate the database very well using the data manipulation languages. Got it? Different query languages are also there, and the query languages have different sophisticated query, so that they will allow to manipulate the data as per the benefit of the user as well as the database. Accuracy. Whenever we deal with large amount of data, it is supposed to face inaccurate situations. Some data may be overlapped in somebody else. Some data may be repeated. Some data may be lost at some times. At those times, your relational database systems deals with maintaining certain integrity constraints, so that we can only allow accurate informations to be stored. And you can also deal with certain mathematical operators to be used in order to maintain the data the accuracy inside the database tables. Got it? When your relational database systems comes, you are supposed to get many benefits out of it. Your relational database provides relational tables to create. It has to relate different database tables, and independent database informations can be available in independent tables, and you can relate all those using different relational algebraic actions. And your relational databases are very easier and contains easy query languages. Using those, you can deal with the relational concepts very well. In today's class, we have discussed this much of points, and in the subsequent classes, we'll discuss more about the relational database features and how it is benefited than your database systems. Got it? So wait for the next class. Kindly go through the topics, send in the video properly, and compare it with your PDF. And if any difficulties you will found, then we'll discuss in our Google Meet class, and you can ask your queries there. Got it? Thank you.